And we should be live. All right. Devil, how's it going, man? How you doing? DSV, how's it going? I'll try to get through another 7 chapters now. That'll put us at 14 for the day, which is pretty good. Good to hear, guys. That's good to hear. Bro interrupted my praising of the fool. Sorry about that, Bullseye. 6 pack. Red Devil hates Manchester United. I kind of, based on his PFP, I kind of doubt that. 6 pack torso midriff? Because I was thinking 6 pack case and 40 referring to like alcohol. What is midriff? No. Midriff is like, he looks like an Arsenal man. Is that, I feel like that's United plus core. So 6 pack, midriff, torso, core. Maybe. No. That was close. Core, midriff, torso, trunk. Units of beer. Okay, this one was close. Case, 40. What is a growler? No, you're all good, Devil. I was already, that was my last guess. So as you could clearly tell, I've already fumbled it 3 fucking times. So you're good, man. Mantle, Trout, Young, Bonds. Okay. This one I could have gotten if that even came across my mind. This one I should have gotten. I don't know what the fuck a growler is. What is a growler? Oh, it's a jug. Yeah, it's one of those jugs. Romero, how's it going, man? What happened, Romero? Like, like aches or what's happening? I had a fucking fever dream. Whoa, Jesus. Oh, well, in that case, I hope get a lot of rest, get a lot of rest, Romero. Drink lots of fluids and eat whatever your mom's making, and I'm sure you'll get better in no time. 233. The more he thought about how the living person was playing cards with more than 10 corpses in a dimly lit room in the night, the more his scalp tingled. Klein suppressed his instinctive fear and looked at the pale face, the malicious brown eyes, and the man who was about 28 years old that had suffused madness. He pretended to be intimidated by the man's dominance and took a step back. During this time, Caspers left the room and closed the door. The man said in a deep voice, "You're the one looking for a bodyguard?" "Yes." Klein gulped deliberately. The man's strangeness made him feel fear, but it also brought him peace of mind. The stronger the bodyguard, the safer he would be. "Why are you looking for a bodyguard, and how much are you looking to pay?" "I'll tell you the details of the mission first. Give me a price after. If I can pay for it, or if I have an item of equivalent value, we'll make ourselves a deal. Otherwise, I can only give up and look somewhere else." The fierce man didn't say a word. Instead, he nodded. "Before I answered, do you want to kick these guys out?" There's no need for that," the pale-faced man said. I offended a big shot who might have a country supporting him." The room suddenly turned still and silent. The man who had a hint of madness and malice in his eyes froze on the spot, as if he had turned to plaster. He then, after nearly a minute, he slowly said, "The mission is priceless. Get out." Dude, I really doubt it's priceless, okay? You just don't want it. Big difference. Huh? Klein didn't manage to react until the man turned around and walked back to the table. Only then did he realize there was no deal. You played cards with a bunch of corpses and present yourself as a man of high standing, yet you're scared like that? You're obviously a little crazy. Klein didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he added, the big shot doesn't have that much freedom in Backland. The man in the black vest ignored him and sat down. The zombies began to hand out cards, looking at their cards and throwing out chips. And that makes me think whoever this person in black is, he's probably like of the death pathway, right? I can't think of anyone else who would bring corpses back or stuff. He doesn't want a whole ass country hunting him. I mean, depends how much money you're offering, but we can take that risk. There's a monetary amount for it. What's that amount? I don't know. It's probably different for everyone, but like there's a number for it for sure. The man in the black vest ignored. No, we didn't come to an agreement. Klein threw his hands up. Caspers didn't show a look of surprise and instead said, "Did you request too high a price?" "No, he finds the mission too difficult." Caspers frowned. "Merrick is the scariest person I know. He isn't even scared of bullets. And since he thinks the mission is difficult, I don't think I can help you get in touch with other powerful people." "What a pity." Casper clenched his fist and struck his chest. "May the storm be with you." "Then I'm dead." "Thank you. You can try asking around for me. I'll pay you a fee. Yeah, I can come back tomorrow night." After receiving a positive answer, he left the bar feeling slightly melancholic. He didn't even have the interest to play a game of billiards. He probably should, because now with his clown potion and like specific control of his muscles, he'd probably be really good at pool, I think. Was I being too honest? If I described the mission in a way that sounded simpler, Merrick might have agreed. I wonder how much money he would have asked for. It's not my style to let someone else face danger for me through deceit. As a Beyonder, I constantly go against my heart's true thoughts and on my own principle. Then I probably won't be far from losing control. Klein's feeling mixed emotions, Klein changed his carriage and returned to Misk Street. Would dominate poker? Oh yeah, because a premonition. He'd feel what cards the other guy's about to throw down. That's a good point too. Oh, dude, he doesn't even need to work. Fuck it, just go hustle people in. Hustle people in a bar. Fuck it. After washing up, Klein wouldn't waste any charcoal. He could divine his opponent's cards. I mean, yeah, but you couldn't do that for every card, and plus people would be like, "Why the fuck does that guy keep walking away? What's up with that guy?" Right? So probably not that, but like I think through divinate or through like precognition or whatever the fuck he called it. Precognition? No, I can't. I don't know. He'd be able to know like beforehand if someone had good or bad hands, and then play according to that. After washing up, Klein didn't waste any charcoal. He went directly to the bedroom, pulled out the curtain to isolate the room from the outside world. On the way back, he carefully thought for a while and discovered that the possible danger wasn't something that could be resolved. To the unknown ambassador, his primary and fundamental purpose was to find Ian Wright. The reason he sent people to deal with me was because I obtained clues in finding Ian. If direct interrogation doesn't work, killing me and channeling my spirit could be considered. If I let him know that I can't find Ian either, he wouldn't take the risk to deal with a hired detective when the military special department might be monitoring the situation. You can just throw a coin and ask, does he have the hand to beat me? I mean, true, but even still, if every time you were about to play, you started flipping a coin, eventually I feel like someone would be like, that guy's up to some shady shit. Spiritual intuition, yes. Easy. How you doing, man? Of course, my appearance and strength far exceeded his expectations, causing their operation to be exposed and causing them to suffer heavy setbacks. If I were the ambassador, I definitely would think about revenge and vent my anger, but it definitely wouldn't be now, and not when the situation is so tense and turbulent. Yes, this building This is building on the premise that the ambassador has brains. If he's a good-for-nothing who got to his position through connections and only acts rashly, for him to be handling such important matters, it must mean he's rather reliable. In other words, the crux of the problem is Ian Wright's whereabouts. There's still some latent danger. Would the ambassador reveal to the military special department that Merceau is a beyonder after his failure? Won't be back until tomorrow, so I'm just lurking. No worries. Are you streaming tomorrow, Easy, or you got a full day on you? That would make them find my strength questionable and use them to retaliate against me. This can be done easily with an offhand remark with no difficulty involved. I have to be on my guard. Klein analyzed the situation and suddenly had the urge to kill the unknown ambassador. Jesus Christ, okay. However, just the thought of powerful beyonders left him depressed. I wonder if the messenger can accept my delegations without Mr. Isaac's permission. Probably not. Should I pay close attention to this matter and find an opportunity to silence him? Since he sent someone to kill me, I wouldn't feel any psychological burden killing him. Yeah, I could consider setting the mission for the Tarot Club. Let's see if Miss Justice and the Hanged Man have any solutions. Perhaps a large sum of money can tempt Mr. A or some powerful beyonder. Not sure, called out, but don't know when I'm back. Have a good... Yeah. I appreciate that, Easy. You have a good night too, buddy. It should be like 8-ish for you, so still... yeah, late in the evening. Or some other powerful beyonders. Clint suddenly had an idea came to him through the thought of the Tarot Club. With this idea in mind, he calmed down a lot. He found some paper and pen and wrote a divination statement. Ian Wright's whereabouts. After confirming there were no hidden beyonders in the room, Klein looked at the curtains that shielded him from prying eyes. He recalled Ian's appearance and silently read out the divination sentence before leaning back into the chair. He quickly entered a dream and saw a dark, small, run-down room in the dreamy world. There was a bunk bed and a floor mat that 4 people slept on. Just to know. Ian was curled up at the top of the bunk bed, sleeping soundly under an old satchel. When the dream shattered, Klein opened his eyes and interpreted the revelations. Living quarters like that only exist in the Eastborough and the Backland Bridge area. It's an abnormally huge place. Even if the police in Backland are deployed, they still wouldn't be able to find it. Ian was careful. He didn't leave anything with me. Otherwise, I might be able to find him through a dowsing rod. After a few minutes of consideration, Klein picked up his pen and added a paragraph to each of his divination sentences. Divination statements, making it an excuse. I don't know Ian Wright's whereabouts. I haven't seen him since we found Zariel's body. That piece of paper was left on the desk with a pen pressed against its edge. After all that was done, Klein got up and went back to his bed, making a quick, less obvious flick of the coin to make sure no one was watching him. After obtaining a negative answer, he quickly took 4 steps counterclockwise, chanted the incantation, and entered the world above the grey fog. Within the ancient and towering palace... He doesn't even know when he'll stream himself. How is he going to tell you? With the ancient and towering palace, Klein couldn't be bothered to inspect the situation around him, and instead repeated the divination he had just done. Seeing the negative answer hadn't changed, he stopped feeling so nervous. Raising his head to the side, he realized that the core position of the newly added crimson star had been dyed with a sun-like gold. Oh, the gold of the eternal blazing sun. Interesting. Is this the source of the warmth I felt? Klein spread out his spirituality and gingerly touched it in response. A blurry scene quickly appeared before his eyes. The petite lady he had tried to pull up above the grey fog was standing in front of an altar with a lady with slightly curled brown hair. A man with a white mask softly chanted in the name of the EBS, creating a warmth and pure light. Was she trying to get someone to do an exorcism? Klein almost laughed. At that moment, he finally understood the reason behind the previous situation. It wasn't that someone had penetrated the grey fog and locked onto him. It was similar to a justice and the company reciting his honorary name before making a prayer. And after the gray fog received the message, it automatically sent him feedback. However, since it wasn't a prayer, the illusory overlapping voices ended up becoming a warm current. That's nice. She just sent you like a little bit of warm feeling, you know, like fuzzy feelings, really. Notification. This is a notification and not something that can cause harm or influence. Klein made a definitive judgment. At the same time, he was roughly certain of one thing. Good lord. The way the mysterious space above the grey fog connected with justice and the others wasn't absolutely normal or above the rules of this world. It still suffered particular restrictions that could cause effects of varying degrees by using specific methods. Klein continued watching the scene before him and listened to this voice speaking. He was surprised to find that it lasted longer than ever before. Grey fog VPN at it again, yeah, something like that. Before this, he wouldn't be able to just take the initiative to spy on the corresponding target unless the other party had prayed for it. Only then would he be able to receive the corresponding scene. In another situation, when he gave his feedback, he would not be able to see the scene and hear synchronized voices at the same time. However, once the response ended, he would no longer be able to gain any additional information. Now, it was like watching a long video whose footage was filled with mosaiced reality TV footage. He got the VIP version? Yeah. He saw the petite lady talking to a man in a golden mask in the study, heard her companions refer to her as Gio, and realized that she was looking for the Beyonder potion corresponding to the sheriff's potion. It wasn't until the two women returned home that Klein felt regretful that he had failed to identify their address. The recording thus came to an end. Watching the gradually dissipating gold colors, he nodded his head carefully. He vaguely understood why the abnormality had appeared. In other words, the power of a purification helped me maintain the corresponding pathway. Gio's 30 pounds was definitely worth it. I wonder if I'll be able to maintain it myself. Klein shook his head and smiled. He took out a pen and paper to divine Ian Wright's whereabouts. Look at that. Like, I think we got through that chapter in like 14 minutes. That is some class A timing right there. It was the same dream divination, but this time Klein saw more. The first scene was still small, dark, squalid room with Ian Wright sleeping soundly on a bunk bed. The second scene was the same as the sewer they had both gone to. Ian squatted in front of Zariel's mutated body, reached out with his hand to rub the 2 rows of white teeth, and removed one of them. The third scene was busy and noisy street. The passerby were all dressed in plain clothes, some of which could be described as old and tattered. In the middle of the street, there were gardens and lawns, surrounded by low chimneys that were puffing out smoke. Ian and his old overcoat, round hat, wearily watched as he entered the telegraph office, not far from the center of the street. Diagonally across, it was the mall entrance to the steam metro. Hi, how's it going, man? Poor Gio wasted $30 to, yeah. She wasted it to give him more insight and like a little bit of fuzzy feeling. Like, you know, like just throwing a blanket over someone. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm just going to open my window. It's hot as shit in my room. Jesus. Oh my God. Bro, the difference between the Snow White and the Minecraft movie box office is crazy. I know Snow White did horrendously bad. Did the Minecraft movie do good? I don't know the box office results. As Minecraft slays at box office. What the fuck? $500 million, I think. Wow, Jesus, that's great. I don't know what I don't know what Snow White did, but I heard it not great. Oh, 350 in like 3 days. Jesus. All right, good shit. Um, the Minecraft movie simply cannot fail. Hey, those 8-year-olds, they hold a lot of purchasing power. Okay, don't never underestimate the fiscal ability of 8-year-olds, even if it was straight 0 out of 10. From what I heard, it was the movie itself was okay, but like I guess it's doing really well. I don't know. I haven't seen it, nor have I played. Oh, good lord. Nor have I played Minecraft in a while. I like the normal person will have a couple of weeks, a year where I'll boot up Minecraft, play for like 2 weeks and shit, and then turn it off. Um, in the middle of the street, there were gardens and lawns surrounded by low chimneys that were puffing out smoke. Ian, in his old overcoat and round hat, warily watched as he entered the telegraph office not far from the center of the street. Diagonally across, it was the mall entrance to the steam metro. The image quickly turned transparent. Klein opened his eyes, tapped his index finger on the edge of the long bronze table, and made a preliminary judgment. From that tooth in the telegram, it seemed that Zariel and Ian aren't just a detective duo that found themselves in a dangerous situation. They have an organization behind them. I should be able to determine where the third scene is. Klein was in no hurry to deeply analyze it, as he didn't want to stay too long above the grey fog. Leaving the high-backed chair belonging to the fool, he went to the corner, rummaged through the paper bag that he had placed there previously, and found Merceau's beyond her characteristic. Holding the crimson jelly-like object, Klein sat down and wrote another statement, the corresponding potion name. Everyone has a damn organization behind them? Dude, think about it. Even Klein has an organization behind him. Well, I guess he doesn't have an organization behind him. He is behind the organization, I guess. So, yeah, I guess everyone just does. Yeah. Some are clearly better than others, but everyone has one. As he silently recited the statement, he held on to the characteristic with one hand and the piece of paper in the other. With the help of the cogitation, he fell to a deep sleep. In the grey, dreamy dream, the ambassador, who was dressed to the nines, appeared again, with Klein with his thin, stubbly face. He is the organization? Yeah. This is the Hunter Potion. Drink it. Drink it. Drink the Hunter Potion. You'll become the leader of the Zmonger gang. Of course, money is also indispensable, as Emperor Roselle once said. A stick in one hand and a carrot in the other. Fuck you. God, Roselle takes everything. What a bitch. Hunter Potion. Is this in the notes? I feel like I've heard this name. It doesn't feel like it's new. Let me just make sure. Hunter sequence, owned by the ruler of the Fasak Empire, a Einhorn family, great trackers, trap masters, and hunters. Yes, I have it. Hunter, Backland is a huge metropolitan city, Merceau frowned. To someone illiterate like him, hunters were associated with wilderness and animals. The biggest city is the largest dark forest, the ambassador chuckled. Here, everyone has two identities, one the prey, the other the hunter. The Sauron? In my notes, it said the Einhorn family. The ruler of the Fasak Empire, Einhorn. Interesting. Oh, they both have it. I see. Einhorn family and Sauron family. Okay. Even the weakest hunter is a hunter. It's possible for them to harm stronger prey. Go. Join this magnificent hunt. Okay, I'm gonna make a guess. Cause please nothing happen. Okay. I'm gonna make a guess. So we know that the author took some inspiration from Bloodborne. This go join the magnificent hunt reminds me a lot of there was a sentence said by Gehrman, the old hunter in Bloodborne, at the end of Bloodborne, in the second ending, first ending, I don't know, depends on how you look at it, where he said, "Tonight, Gehrman joins the hunt." So I'm gonna make a guess and say this ambassador is Gehrman. I'm gonna make a guess. I feel like that's his name. Gehrman joins the hunt. Yes, thank you, Devil. The scene shattered and turned into countless specks of light. Klein looks at the Crimson Beyonder characteristic. Bloodborne, what a game. Couldn't agree more, dude. What a fucking game. Klein looked down at the Crimson Beyonder characteristic in his hand and said to himself, so it's the Hunter potion. No wonder he was so good at fighting. He even used a blowpipe to shoot poison darts. It's no wonder he was able to track me. However, he doesn't seem to fully understand the essence of being a hunter. He didn't set any traps or use any weapons. He didn't put his advantages to use. That's also partly because he didn't know I'm also a Beyonder, when that happens to be sequence 8. And look at what DSV said. Sauron were the ruler of the Intis Republic, the nation of the ambassador. Oh, I see. Thank you. I'm pretty sure you know up to sequence 7? I don't think so. I feel like it just, in my notes at least, I can check again. Oh, no, yes, you're right, I do. Hunter, Provoker, Pyromaniac. I made the guess that this was the equivalent to the Assassin pathway that was mentioned by Sharon, I think, or whoever gave Sharon her potion, maybe. Because I thought Hunter was kind of equivalent to Assassin, Provoker was kind of similar to Instigator. Well, it's very similar, and Pyromaniac was very similar to Witch in the sense that Pyromaniac is like a fire wizard, if you want to get really specific. So I felt like that was a good guess. Yes, you're right. It's also evident that he only recently consumed the potion. Sauron family was also the family that helped EBS assassinate Roselle. Ah, interesting. Okay, I will toss that in the lore section. I don't have that written down. Sauron family collaborated with EBS to kill Roselle. Oh, good lord. The Hunter pathway is wielded by both former Intis royal families. Okay, fuck me. Okay. The Sauron family, the Faceak Empire's ruler, the Einhorn family. Okay, we would have gotten to it eventually, I guess. The Iron and Blood Cross Order, which appeared in the last 2 or 3 centuries, taking into account his attire, the ambassador's identity can essentially be confirmed. A high-ranking diplomat of the Intis Republic, an ambassador of the Lone Kingdom. I wonder who that important item he's trying to get his hands on is. As his mind churned, Klein wrapped himself in his spirituality and began his descent. As he returned to his room, he checked his surroundings but didn't notice anything out of order. Klein let a silent breath as he felt a bit more confident that he was able to convene the members of the Tarot Club on time tomorrow. He rummaged through the map of Backland that he had bought on the steam locomotive, looking for a telegraph office along the subway line, one that wasn't far from the middle of the street. There were only a few subway lines in Backland, so Klein quickly identified the 3 targets. One in Westboro, one in St. George, and one in the junction of Eastboro and Backland Bridge. All of the pathways are very important. I recommend you try to remember at least the sequence 9 of all of them. They're in my notes. I wouldn't place particularly high hopes that I'll just remember all of them offhand, if I'm honest. But yes, they all keep going in my ever increasingly long notes. He recalled how most of the pedestrians were dressed to determine the socioeconomic status and arrived at the final answer, the 3rd spot, the place where the Eastboro intersected with the Backland Bridge. Wow, look at him. He's judging people based on their clothing. So not woke, Klein. God. Sometimes interpreting a revelation requires a plethora of practical knowledge and ability to infer. Klein mocked himself, walked to the desk, and added another sentence after his previous statement, adding more to the contents written on the piece of paper. I don't know where Ian is. I haven't seen him since we discovered Zarril's corpse. However, I learned through my own channels that Ian was staying somewhere that appeared at the telegraph office on Bacardi Street. After he finished writing, Klein didn't fold the page and put it away, nor did he burn it. Instead, he allowed it to remain spread out on the desk, freely revealing its contents. After giving it a deep look, Klein went back to bed and took off his clothes to sleep. Outside the tightly closed curtains, the crimson moon peeked out from the layers of clouds, shining brightly and perfectly. In a house of Hillston Borough, Forrest, who didn't sleep with Geo, damn, I wanted to hear details. What the fuck? Sat up suddenly and put her hands to her head. Her relatively pretty face was extremely twisted, as if she was a devil. Forrest pressed against her ears and constantly tossed in bed, as though she was resisting the illusory mutterings. Sweat trickled down her ear and veins bulged on the back of her hands. Her body randomly tensed up or rolled. Her originally teasing and languid pale blue eyes were filled with pain. In the depths of those pupils, countless layers of light and shadow seemed to appear. So I don't think she knows about the acting method, clearly. No, Forrest finally couldn't hold it in anymore and let out a low, tragic cry. Oh my god, she has a tragic backstory? Her hand stopped covering her ears and resorted to yanking at her hair, as though she was going to fight pain with pain. After a few minutes of writhing, she finally stopped. She released her hands, looked at the handful of slightly curly brown hair, and weakly laughed at herself. I lied to Gio, telling her that the murmurs every full moon don't have much of a negative effect on me. At least losing hair is a secret concern. Is she a werewolf? Because we know those exist. With difficulty, Forrest sat up and looked at the curtains that half covered the window. Through it, she could see the dreamy crimson moon outside. It's getting worse and worse every time. Will I lose control the next time because of this? Forrest could no longer suppress the weakness that she had buried deep in her heart. Oh, I think she's a werewolf. Because otherwise it wouldn't affect... Because otherwise it wouldn't say anything about the full moon, would it? Unless the moon has some kind of effect on specific beyonder pathways. She had attempted to separate herself from the bracelet that allowed people to teleport through the spiritual world, but it no longer appeared in the disappearance of the murmurs during a full moon. She had tried to take sedatives, had tried chanting the name of the god of steam and machinery, some ritualistic magic, but it hadn't changed the fact that she was gradually slipping into the abyss. If only I could understand what the murmurs are saying. I wish to die in the know and not be buried clueless. Perhaps I might be able to hear it clearer after I advance to sequence 8, but I never encountered anyone selling the Trickmaster potion formula. Forrest looked outside the window in a daze as her eyes were suddenly dyed red by the moonlight. On Monday morning, Klein woke up early from his restless... I don't think she's a werewolf, but there's something... Would the full moon affect her in such a weird way if she wasn't some kind of mutant? I don't know. He went to his desk and began to draw the curtains and open the window to let in the light and wind into his room. At that moment, he got sight of the paper on his desk at the corner of his eye. She mentioned the bracelets? Yeah, the one that allowed her to travel. But how does that have anything to do with it? What would the bracelet be? Oh, I guess the bracelet could be like a sealed artifact or whatever, and maybe that, and depending on what it gets its powers from, it might be affected by the phase of the moon. Okay, maybe. Um, it was facing the window, maintaining its original position. However, Klein remembered that before he slept, the piece of paper was facing the chair and the bed. It had flipped over and changed orientation after a night's sleep. Klein's pupils constricted as he abruptly reached out and held the curtains open. He saw that the oriel window was still tightly shut, not even a waft of wind in. Without any wind, the paper had rotated 180 degrees by itself. No, someone came in without me noticing. Klein felt a chill run up his spine. He was shocked that he didn't realize it while he was sleeping. Yeah, you were sleeping, dumb shit. What did you think was going to happen? This meant that I was at the mercy of others, and his life and death situation solely depended on the other party's thoughts and mood. Was it a member of the military special department, or was it a powerful beyonder sent by the ambassador? From the fact that the paper wasn't returned to its original orientation, it's more likely to be the latter, indicating a certain level of warning. To be able to sneak in like that without a trace. How incredible. Okay, I think the link is going to be whoever broke in here has the same pathway that Fours has, because Fours has like, I have the name written down, I can't remember it, but the one that allows her to basically just pass through doors. Apprentice, I think. Just pass through doors. And if they have that, it's likely they will have the one to sequence 8 Trickmaster, which 4s need, and they would be able to use that, and Klein would be maybe able to entice her with that or something. I don't know, for some future purposes, because she just mentioned that she's never come across it, so it'd be like a win-win. And thank you, Hailey. Yes, apprentice. The reason why he wrote those words last night and spread it on the desk was to let others see. He wanted to let the ambassador know what he knew and delay any possible acts of revenge until the matter was over, so he himself could have more time to prepare. However, Klein had expected that the other party would sneak into the room while he was out, and while the surveillance of his house by the military department would be reduced. Who knew that the person in question would be able to bypass the beyonders around him and quietly enter the room while he was sleeping? The feeling of having his fate controlled by someone was extremely uncomfortable. A beyonder who's very powerful or has extremely odd abilities. Klein turned his back and faced away from the oriel window and pulled out a copper penny. Someone snuck into this room last night. After he silently chanted the statement, with the help of the body concealment, he flicked the coin. This time, the number faced up. It was a negative result. No one had snuck in. But the paper wouldn't have turned for no reason. Could it be sleepwalking? No, I can't even stay awake after the captain invaded my dream. Klein frowned and thought of 2 possibilities. First, the divination was interrupted and resulting in misleading results. 2, the one who snuck in wasn't human. Something snuck in. Aha. What are we at? 40. Yeah. Klein was in no hurry to confirm his general assumption. He pretended that nothing had happened and turned his page so that it faced him. The information he wrote down about Ian Wright was completely true, and he would still get a positive answer even if he used the divination technique to confirm. Therefore, he believed that the person under the ambassador's charge would follow the investigation trail and gain something in return. It was unlikely he had the motivation to seek revenge on him for the time being. Similarly, he would continue to spread the paper out on the desk for the military special department who were monitoring him. It would divert their attention away from him as they shifted their focus onto Ian. It would then be a race to find him before the ambassador. This way Klein would feel even safer. It feels like I'm walking on a tightrope. Is this a clown's special trick? He shook his head in amusement. He opened the oriel window, hoping to take some of the morning air, but there was thick, choking smog outside that made him quietly close the window. Jesus, that sounds miserable. He, pressing down on the paper with Ian's information with an ink bottle. Klein the clown. Yes. Klein went to the closest closet and quickly washed up. He then picked up his black double-breasted suit and his half-top hat that hung from the rack all the way on the first floor. All the way to the first floor. You'll remember the powers of Oh, I'm sure I will air this, but yeah, it'll be a while from now. Plus generally I've been a person who doesn't rely on memorizing stuff very much. It's never been like a strong suit of mine. I've always relied on like understanding of like broader concepts, and then like the facts will slot in. So once I have like better and better understandings, hopefully they give us like how the 22 pathways work and stuff, or like how they were determined. So I'm sure with that I'll be able to get like a really good grasp in. Yeah. He had a appointment with lawyer Jurgen for breakfast. Pulling his black silver inlaid cane from the umbrella stand in the foyer, Klein walked along the edge of the street in a thick fog that provided visibility for no more than 10 meters until he reached 58 Minsk Street. He rang the doorbell of the dark house. As the clanging sound echoed, a black, green-eyed cat with raised tail suddenly appeared to its mind. Brody the cat walked straight to the door. After preparing itself for 2 minutes, it leaped up and grabbed the handle on the door. Then it inevitably fell and twisted the handle with its weight and opened the door. I literally constructed the entire Lord of the Mysteries pathway and all its rules and systems with just 2 axioms. Jeez. Man, you're really into this, eh, Ramiro? With a creak, the morning wind blew in, the door slowly opened. What a clever good lord. What a clever cat, Klein praised. Doris laughed as her wrinkles eased. It depends on its mood. Most of the time it acts stupid, as though it doesn't know what you're talking about. Oh, I've prepared the best bean turnip soup for you. Please, eat it with bread. Bean turnip soup sounds like something that was randomly mashed together. I'm looking forward to it, Klein smiled. The lawyer came out of the bathroom. Even at home, regardless of if he had just woken up, he was dressed to the nines. He wore his white shirt, ironed brownish-yellow vest that was tightly fitted, and the lines on his trouser appeared to be freshly ironed. The contract you wanted was complete. Check to see if there's any omissions. All right. Klein leaned his cane, took off his cap, and followed Jurgen to the study on the first floor, where he revealed a thick contract. He stood there casually flipping through it. The more he read, the more his head hurt. In the end, he only skimmed through the key clauses. I hope that everything that's needed is here, as well as previously omitted clauses, such as the establishment of 3 instances that will determine how much money is to be supplied to Leopard, rather than a lump sum. The first instance was £50. That way I won't have to go to Backland Bank for the time being and take out the remaining £100. What I have on me is enough. Sound, how's it going, man? Look at that, you finally made it. Klein closed the document, smiled at Jurgen, and said, I'm satisfied. Your professional skills are even better than I imagined. As he said that, he took out 2 £1 notes he had prepared. Jurgen took the money, gave Klein the remaining contracts, and said, if there's an error made during signing, there are 2 extra copies. Remember to shred the remaining contracts when everything's over. The current iteration of shredding machines was a hand-cracked mechanical shredder. Klein was about to nod his head when Mrs. Doris shouted, Good lads, it's time for breakfast. Your grandmother's hearing has deteriorated, Jurgen explained. My grandmother's hearing has deteriorated, rather. Klein followed him into the dining room and saw that Mrs. Doris had scooped out a spoonful of yellow and green liquid from the black pot and poured it onto the corresponding plate. Good lord, that sounds miserable. Mother of Learning. Is that another web novel, or is that a manhwa? What is that? Since Milo's just not here. Oh, you guys are mean. Here, try the bean turnip soup. Here's your bread, Mrs. Doris smiled. Klein looked at Jurgen. It's a web novel? I see. Klein looked at Jurgen, who was even more serious than before. His heart skipped a beat. Forcing himself to sit, Klein broke off a piece of the white bread, dipped it in the soup, and stuffed it in his mouth. He was surprised to find that the flavor was actually pretty good. The faint salty taste had a sweet tang to it that stimulated his appetite. It also perfectly brought out the soft, fragrant flavor of the bread. My grandmother was once an excellent cook, Jürgen casually added. Then why do you have to keep such a straight face? I really don't have an appetite watching you eat, Klein lampooned. After leaving the Jurgens, he made 3 transfers to Surd Street in St. Georgeborough, where he made a formal agreement with Leopard for the first £50. The sum of £30 would be paid in 2 weeks' time, depending on his progress. At this point, Klein was left with only £21 and 8 soli. A lampoon is back and stronger than ever. Yes, sir. It was. Don't call it a comeback. He was always here. Relatively short novel with time loop practical magic setting. Anything with time loops has always confused the shit out of me. I've never been great at it. There's actually a wiki page dedicated to how many times. Can you tell me how many times? Can someone tell me how many times? I'm curious. I don't want to search it up because I'm sure it'll tell me some random bullshit I'm not supposed to know also, but I'm curious. Then he turned to the Sherwood Borough. Then he returned to the Sherwood Borough, went to the public library to read the Tussock Times of the past year in search of the news regarding the Intis ambassador to the Lone Republic. Lone Kingdom, rather. Sorry. Shit, I'm just realizing my mouse is about to die. There's 211 known instances in Book 1. Nice. Maybe at the end, maybe when we finish Volume 1, when we finish the first book, we'll do a stream where all it is just me going through every single chapter, Control Laughing Lampoon, and then seeing if we can confirm that number. The most lampoons is in one chapter is chapter 3. I don't know what to do with this information, Ramiro. It was almost noon. He finally saw the black and white photo and confirmed that it was the one he had seen in his divination. Bakerland Jean Madan. Okay, that is not Gehrman. I'm sad. Every chapter where he lived. Just put on the wiki. Less than I was expecting, to be honest. Yeah, I know. Nope, piss off. He recited his name silently. He left the library and found a small restaurant for lunch. At 10 minutes to 3, Klein pretended to take a nap. He drew the curtains, took 4 steps counterclockwise, and arrived above the gray fog. He first divined if the military special department had relaxed their surveillance on him. They received a positive result. Then he wrote a divination statement. The infiltrator from last night. Leaning back in his chair, he muttered the sentence as his eyelids drooped as he fell asleep. Jean Madame is a really French name. I agree. No wonder they say he's so dressed to the nines and whatever. God, that's totally a French thing to do. So I'm gone to the last VOD. Not much. I think last little bit was just Audrey saying hey, maybe I found 2 Beyonders that might be interested in joining, or that might be good for joining, and then he kind of put a thing on them. Went around. It was mainly about him getting a gun that I can remember. Him finding the body for the Zariel, the detective. And yeah, it wasn't much, dude. Yeah, it was nothing too eventful or exciting by any stretch. His bedroom came into a view in the world of illusion, separation, and obscurity. At that moment, he saw a black shadow squirming in the crack of the bottom of the door. A slender black iron threadworm drilled its way into the room. It arched at the center, then flattened itself, constantly repeating it as though it was moving to the desk. Its movements were extremely stiff, as though it had broken us down a series of slow motions, making it appear odd. The black threadworm crept to the front of the desk and crawled to the top, leaving a trail quickly evaporating mucus behind. It stopped at the written page regarding Ian Wright, lifted its head as the middle of its body rose, leaving only the tail to support the body. At this moment, it was just like a human. After examining it for a moment, the worm turned the paper around and disappeared back the way it came. Like Mr. Sorry. It's so short, but I feel like it's so long. I feel like it's because the Times Lampoon is used as funny and they get imprinted. That's probably true. Like observer bias, I guess. Is that what you would call it? Or no, there's a I don't know. So that was the case. That's to say, it wasn't the infiltrator didn't want to take revenge on me. He simply didn't have the ability to do so. Need a psych student to slide through? Yeah. Hold on, I'm curious. Sorry, we'll get back to reading in 1 second. Selective attention, no, because that's when you know of a thing and you learn of a thing and then you see it all the time, right? To filter for what they're focusing on, yeah, that's fine. Confirmation bias refers to the yeah, obviously that's fine. Recency bias, another selective confirmation to accompany frequency illusion. This illusion occurs when an individual notices something recently, leading them to be convinced that it originated recently too. No. For fuck's sake, it's none of these. For fuck's sakes. Okay, I don't know. I'm not pulling open another wiki page to try to find it. Fuck it, whatever. Unless the iron threadworm is highly venomous, Klein nodded in enlightenment. He used the divination and obtained the confirmation that the Beyonder who manipulated the black iron threadworm had done so under the ambassador's orders. After doing all this, he covered the paper bag in the corner and sent the message to the sun. When the hands of the pocket watch were in place, Klein pulled the 3 at the same time. At this week's tarot club happened as scheduled. What sequence do you think the Beyonder is? That didn't seem extraordinarily powerful. But it's, like, I mean, to have something that you can control externally is definitely handy. Either a shitty 6 or like a strong 7. I wouldn't go much higher than that. The familiar gray fog and blurry human silhouette appeared. Audrey, who had just successfully advanced to sequence 8, half stood up, lifted her skirt, and happily greeted, "Good afternoon, Mr. Fool. Mr. Hanged Man, Mr. Sun." Klein, who had activated his spirit vision, noticed the change in the surface layer of her astral projection. "Welcome, our Miss Telepathist," Klein said with a chuckle. Audrey smiled reserved and said a few words of humility before turning to the person across from her. "Mr. Hanged Man, you should be handing this week's 6 pages. This tarot chapter have good info? Good stuff. Thank you. Perhaps when Mr. Fool reads it, he will think of something and share it with us to give us more general information." The corners of her mouth curled up in anticipation. That's such an interesting way of saying they were like smiling. That's so interesting. Like, I don't know, it makes it feel so extraordinary. Alder nodded and began to produce the 6 pages. Previously, he had thought of consulting the Fool about whether he should submit the rest of the diary via sacrifice. However, seeing the Fool didn't seem too interested or take the initiative to mention it, he gave up on this idea. She sounds so pretentious. I don't think so. I think she just sounds good-mannered. Or well-mannered, rather. Sorry. Previously, yes, no, that's fine. And this was in line with his understanding of the Fool. Roselle's diary had a great had a certain effect on the godlike man, Mr. Fool, but it wasn't that great. He would collect it, but he definitely wasn't in a rush. Bro, he was in a rush. The 6 pages were completed quickly. As Alter was about to offer it to the fool, who sat at the end of the table, he suddenly remembered. Mr. Fool, I have obtained a piece of information related to the secret order. There was no obstruction of information on the ocean. It just wasn't timely enough. She's a noble. She probably took... yeah, exactly. That, and plus nothing she's doing is like hyper out of character. You know what I mean? Like, hyper out of place, rather, is what I mean to say. Like, everything she's saying is pretty reasonable, I think. Yeah, it just sounded like that. No, I get it. The pirates also valued information and often sent each other to the colonial islands to exchange information they had gathered. It was through these channels that Alger had obtained something about the secret order. Very good, Klein nodded. His head slightly, giving his permission to the hanged man to recount what he knew. He didn't stop the presence of Miss Justice or the Sun from letting him speak. This would help the former gather information about the secret order while the latter understood nothing. At the same time, he allowed the 6 pages to appear in his hand. The secret order has some connection to the Intis Republic. Interesting. The Intis Republic, the Republic from Intis. Zaratul had sought him out in Trier, the capital of Intis. The secret order was involved in the famous incident at Intis. It's not too surprising. They still have some connections there. After validating this new piece of information with what he saw, Klein confirmed that the information provided by the hanged man was true. Just in time. I'm going to deal with the ambassador of the Intis Republic. Klein was in no hurry to read Roselle's diary. He looked up at the 3 members. Okay, so far all I know is that I'm just going to write that down. Secret order is connected. Sorry, it's like midnight for me, so a couple of occasional yawns. Not much I can do about there. Alright, fun fact. When Lord of the Mysteries became popular, the pirate site's AI altered the chapters so they wouldn't get copyrighted. Thankfully now there's few of those, but it was a dark era. Yeah, I can imagine. As Klein's knowledge of mysticism and Beyonders deepened, as well as his experiments with some of the powers of space above the grey fog, he no longer felt anxious when facing the Justice, the Hanged Man, and the Sun. He became less preoccupied with maintaining his enigmatic and unfathomable image so as to prevent the Tarot Club's member from keenly noticing his facade. Another fun fact. I made up the last fun fact. He knew that although the deities of this world were considered bizarre and powerful, they were by no means omniscient and omnipotent. This description was something only the legendary creator of everything could do. One that only the City of Silver was still worshipping. The deities had their limitations, and the deities could also be put into tough situations. That was something Klein could now confirm. Be it the Book of Storm, the Revelation of Evernight, they more or less touched upon this. Therefore, at the recent tarot gathering, Klein was consciously building character traits, slowly shaping himself into the restricted powerhouse who, for some reason, couldn't move freely but was almost a deity. This way, even if he occasionally showed that he didn't understand certain things or occasionally asked for help, it wouldn't arouse suspicion. Of course, the premise of all this was that through his previous attempts and the power displayed by his adorer, he had undoubtedly embedded the image of a deity-like existence into their minds. I hope this building of character traits will succeed. That way I don't have to worry about not being able to answer their questions in the future. Getting used to being a god, yeah. Of course, things that are now part of general knowledge will still have to be known, and I shouldn't show fear. Klein tapped the edge of the table and said, I want to issue a mission. Mission? Audrey's eyes pricked up slightly. She was astonished, expectant, and perturbed. She clearly remembered that this was the first time the fool had issued a mission. Although he had made a few requests that involved prepaid rewards, it assumed he had randomly selected missions to conform to the general principle of equal exchange. This time he said issue. As a telepathist, Audrey was very good at reading the hidden meanings of words. At the same time, she keenly realized that although the hanged man had appeared to be unperturbed, he was abnormally tense. As for the son, he seemed to be muddle-headed, treating this as very normal. You can choose to accept it or not. With the help of his clown's potion, his tone sounded much more relaxed. Another adorer of mine has arrived in Backland. He wishes to finish the matter, but it's not convenient for him to show himself. Another adorer? The hanged man nodded, but he wasn't surprised. In his eyes, for a powerful being like the fool, he possessing many adorers was a matter of fact. I wonder what the sequence number of the fool's adorer is. I still owe his previous adorer a reward. Even though the fool's reward was paid by the hanged man and he doesn't really care about money, I did pray for help. Furthermore, the admiral was killed by that adorer. He would still need funds for their activities, Audrey thought with some guilt. Yeah, give him some money, god damn it. Klein trying not to say bullshit. Frankly speaking, 30,000 pounds and a large plantation was an enormous amount of wealth to her, but that alone didn't have any significant effect on her life. It's good having it, but it wouldn't matter if I didn't. Well, it might pinch a little. God. As a teenage girl who wasn't considered an adult yet, ignoring the large plantation, she didn't actually have absolute control over the remaining 30,000 pounds. She could only go with her father's arrangements, purchasing some stocks from the Backlands Munitions Corporation and invested in a company that was attempting to spin off some technology of the ironclad warships for commercial ships. Audrey is rich, dude. The amount she ultimately received would be as an allowance of only 5,000 pounds. Oh my god. How is a girl to make a living on only 5,000 pounds? Does her father have no heart at all? Oh my god. It's disheartening. How could she afford the banquets, the dresses on only 5,000 pounds? However, her fixed annuity had increased by at least 2,000 pounds, from its original range of 15,000 pounds to 25,000 pounds. See, that's more respectable. It's not great. I'm going to be honest. When she goes out with her friends, they go out to get coffee. She's going to have to get the cheapest coffee. So her friends will look down on her a little bit, but she can at least go out with them. So you know what, 15,000, 25,000, we can make it work. The task he wants completed is the assassination of the Intis Republic ambassador of the Lone Kingdom, Jean Madan. Assassinate a ambassador? Audrey lost her composure. Well, it's kind of funny that we keep laughing that Audrey has no concept of money, but Cuttlefish was out here trying to describe class. Yeah, absolutely. This would cause, it's almost enough to get the new... Eridus, you're right, but you have to remember those are pre-tariff prices. I don't know where you live, but if you got hit with tariffs, it wouldn't cover the post-tariff price. Plus, even if you got it, you wouldn't be able to afford any games at that point. And what's the point? This would cause a conflict between the two countries and might even be an act of war. Her first thought of mind was of international foreign affairs. As to why the fool didn't do it himself, she found the answer obvious. Oh, you're in the U.S. Oh, you'll feel the tariffs, buddy. Which mighty figure would always be helping their associates. After the Lone Kingdom suffered defeat at the east coast of Balam, the king didn't personally set off. At most, the general would be replaced and the troops delayed. Rumor has it that His Majesty wanted to set off for the front line but was stopped by the nobles and officials. Alder was only mildly surprised by the task. His focus was on another matter. Mr. Fool is unable to strongly interfere with the real world. My guess is right. I wonder to what extent he can influence us after establishing a connection. Can he take one's life away? Alder was a little pleased with himself. Dude. Dude. Alder is the real fucking theory crafter. What is this guy on? Derek looked blanked out of the conversation. What's the Intis Republic? What's an ambassador? What is this? Which one of you is willing to accept this mission? What kind of reward do you want? I can't convince myself to kill an innocent man for no reason, and it could well lead to a disaster caused by war. Audrey wanted to raise her hand, hesitated. Professional glazee, yes. No, glazer. No, that wouldn't be right. The fool would be the professional glazee. Just gets glazed every time he comes up here. Just then, the hanged man chuckled and said, I've heard that the ambassador is also the intelligence chief of the Intis Republic. He secretly supports bloodshed, planned a number of incidents that destroyed the relationship between the nobility and the rich, and spread rumors to incite the public into standing against the government. He seemed to notice the hesitation in justice, so he described the dark side of Bakerland in detail. I'm not sure if he's a Beyonder, but there are many clues that would suggest he might be. He has a number of Beyonders around him, Beyonders that come from the Intis intelligence web. And this department is influenced by the original family in Intis, the Sauron family. They're in control of the early sequences of the Hunter pathway. Moreover, the possibility of war between the two countries depends on whether or not the two upper echelons want to fight. It has nothing to do with the life or death of a diplomat. After the assassination of Emperor Roselle, Intis suffered great shocks, but ultimately managed to remain stable. Because the Sauron family suffered a brutal blow during Roselle's reign, their strength fell tremendously. All they could do was accept the new reality and change their goals to fight for a seat in the parliament, and secretly influence the country's intelligence department and parts of the military. After listening to the information provided by the hanged man, the hesitation in Audrey's heart disappeared. She gracefully nodded. For the past few years, the Faceac Empire's expanded... Hold on, there's a fucking plane outside. I gotta... There's a small airfield by our house, so occasionally you'll... like, nothing big, but either private planes or, people who own... or people who own those small, two-people flyer planes or whatever, occasionally pop by at night, so sorry about that. As long as we push the blame to them, the higher-ups and the citizens of the Intis Empire, it will definitely be something acceptable and believable. Wait, I think I skipped something. For the past few years, the Faceac Empire has expanded rapidly, having defeated the kingdom and the Intis Republic on the Balam coast and the Highlands. Audrey didn't know much about politics, but with her father being a member of the Parliament in the House of Lords, she still knew certain things. Be it the shirking of responsibility or shifting the focus on the kingdom's internal problems, the unpopular northern barbarians were popular and the easiest targets for nobles and ministers. Whether they did it or not didn't really matter. God, she's starting... Audrey's part of the CIA, confirmed? What the fuck? Of course, more than 100 years ago, this role was played out by Intis and Roselle. After pondering for a few seconds, Audrey looked at the seat of honor and said, Mr. Fool, I can attempt to complete this mission, but I can't guarantee its success. On one hand, she was going to find her father and confirm that the ambassador was really the head of the intelligence service. On the other hand, she wasn't going to do it herself. As a spectator or telepathist, neither one of them were good at combat. All she could do was gather as much information about Ambassador Backland from high society as she could and delegate the mission. That loses place. How much does a trip to a barber cost you? Okay. So if I'm just getting my hair cut, I think it's like $40. But if it's like hair and beard, I think it's like 60, 65, something like that. Is Easy the only one that loses place? I lose my place if I'm like reading and then I do something else, like I pull something up on screen or I read chat, then I'll lose my place. But like if I'm just reading, then I'm okay. So it just kind of depends. Audrey about to recreate the Iran-Contra affair. Yeah, the whole pigs of the Bay of Pigs invasion. Same for me. Ramiro couldn't believe it. Well, yeah, for him it probably costs like, I don't know, like $4 maybe. Again, you have to remember, one CAD 2 Shri Lankan rupees, like 216 to 1. So you save $40 for a haircut. If someone said like, hey, I'm giving 8,600 of whatever currency for a haircut, you'd be like, what the fuck? All she could do was gather as much information about the ambassador and delegate the mission. I could get Gio or Force to ask Mr. A to do it, or find a host of other Beyonder circles. I can't be exposed. Things have to be kept a secret. And there might be Intis intelligence agents lurking nearby. I don't know how much I'll have to pay, but £5,000 may not be enough. Klein didn't pin his hopes on Sequence 8 Miss Justice to succeed. He nodded and said, what compensation would you like? The formula to the psychiatrist potion, Audrey said without hesitating. Does he have this? Which one did he get from the guy in Tingen, from Daxter Guderin or whatever? Did he get the psychiatrist potion or did he get telepathist? I can't remember. As well as the corresponding Beyonder ingredients. We can wait until the mission is completed before discussing further. If it doesn't succeed, I'll bear the expenses. I still owe your adorer the bounty money. Bounty money? So it was given to Miss Justice. £10,000. That's $5,000 if we split it evenly. Klein pondered for a few seconds about how much Ambassador Bakerland was worth and decided it was definitely more valuable than the Rear Admiral. Sure, Klein said. I think it was the telepathist. That's what I'm remembering too. That's wrong. I think so. At this moment, the hanged man added, I'll also accept this mission. The compensation can be determined after the mission is completed. Didn't you return to sea? Audrey asked. Just because I'm not in Backland doesn't mean I can't kill him. Alger smiled. What the fuck? Derek, who was beside him, never even had the chance to join the conversation. Klein nodded in agreement. Okay. He immediately turned his gaze to the Roselle diary in his hands. All right, look at that. Look at that. Are you really even a fucking Sequence 2? Who the fuck? Are you really a... Okay, I'm going to get banned off YouTube for saying this, but are you really even a secret organization if you don't coup governments? Are you and your friends even real friends if you don't coup a government every couple of years to make sure the spark is still there? You know, it's just par for the course, really. October 29th, the leader of the Secret Order, Zaratul, visited me again. He didn't mention anything specific, just casually chatted with me. I wasn't able to guess his true intentions. It seems like he just wanted to strengthen communications with us and understand us better. I've already met 2 high sequence Beyonders from the church, but I felt that Zaratul was much more powerful than them. So I asked what sequence he was, and without much hope. And in the end, he actually answered me. Sequence 2, Miracle Invoker. Sequence 2, that's the position of an angel, close to that of a deity. Okay. Okay, so from my understanding, Zaratul and the Secret Order is in possession of the seer pathway, I think. And if that's the case, I'm going to make the guess that Zaratul himself is also in the seer pathway. And the way he talks, so helpful, giving hints and shit, feels like it'd be from the seer pathway. So I'm going to say this is sequence 2, Miracle Invoker of the seer pathway. I'm going to put it with that for the moment until I get either confirmation or denial later. That is definitely a badass name. What the fuck? Maybe sequence 2, Miracle Invoker. Zaratul was this. Not sure if the correct pathway. Okay, dope. That is definitely a badass name. He's truly more powerful than the alchemist and the arcane scholar I met earlier, but my intuition tells me that Zaratul isn't telling me the whole truth. Sequence 2 might just be his formal position, or that he's about to advance. Miracle Invoker, a master at creating miracles, the name of this potion makes one's imagination run wild. What could a Miracle Invoker do? Bring people back from the dead? Part the Red Sea? I'm trying to think of Old Testament miracles. Oh, this is the corresponding sequence 2 of Seer, a miracle invoker who controls fate. Oh shit. Okay, dope. I tried probing Zaratul if the word miracle refers to the miracle of fate, that the seer pathway is one that slowly understands and grasps fate so as to control it. He ignored my first question and told me that fate is just one of the parts of the seer pathway. It's not even the main focus. The pathway that truly represents fate is monster? What the fuck? The pathway that truly controls fate is monster, as said by Zaratul. Interesting. Interesting. Alright, I'm just going to keep my notes open. It feels like I'm going to get a lot of shit here. He raised a few examples that were all names of potions in the sequence formula. Sequence 7. Hold on. Oh, I was just about to say, I was like, dude, the only thing I know of the monster sequence is sequence 9. Never fucking mind. 7. The lucky. 5. The lucky? Wait, hold on. This is shitty translation somewhere. What the fuck? That's 2 the luckies. Hold on. Sequence 2, Soothsayer. Sequence 1, Snake of Mercy. Mercury, rather. Hold on. 5. 5 is Winner. Thank you. 2, Soothsayer. 1, Snake of Mercury. 7 is Lucky One. Okay, well, you two can fight it out, I guess. I don't fucking know. Oh, sorry. 7 is Lucky One, 5 is Winner. Sorry, I can't read. Sorry. The Lucky One. 2 it suits her. Interesting. Oh, we finally have a sequence 1. That's cool. Look at that. This was the first sequence 1 I got to know. It hit me right in the face. According to what I know, the monster pathway should be controlled by the school life of thought. Life school of thought, sorry. Controlled by... Sorry, according to what I know, the monster pathway should be controlled by the Life School of Thought, the school that seems to have part of the apothecary sequence pathway. Interesting. Part of the apothecary pathway. They propose 3 major divisions: the world of absolute rationality, the world of spirits, and the material world. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Zaratul told me that the Life School of Thought specializes in astromancy, seeking to use medicine, music, light, wine, and fragrance to eliminate paths. What's your favorite sequence name so far? Hold the phone. Hold on. All right, let me get back to you on that. Snake of Mercury is very cool, for sure. Sequence 4, Demon Hunter, is definitely up there for sure. Shadow Ascetic sounds cool, but what is ascetic? I've searched this up before. I forgot. Severe self-discipline? Yeah, that sounds... Shadow Ascetic sounds cool. Priest, that's whatever. I don't really give a shit. Wind Blessed is kind of whatever too. I don't care. Yeah, I think I would probably go with Demon Hunter as like the coolest one for the moment. Again, Snake of Mercury is cool, but like comparing like the first sequence one I know to like lower sequences hardly feels fair, so I'm gonna just Demoness of Pleasure though. that does not sound cool. Sorry, that doesn't sorry, that is not my favorite name. Okay. Unhinged, how's it going, man? How you doing? Plastic January, how's it going? What's your guys' favorite? Oh, well, I guess I can't ask you because you won't know offhand which ones I can mention so far. Pyromaniac, that one's very cool for sure. They believe that disasters and diseases are caused by the balance between man and nature, as well as the balance between a man and his own mind. He meaningfully added that the Life School of Thought worships the moon. Okay, so in that case, I think whatever the bracelet that Forrest has something to do with the Life School of Thought. Because they wouldn't bring up that bracelet, the moon, and then the fact that the Life School of Thought worships the moon so close together, and it just be a coincidence. I don't think so. Provoker's the favorite one that I can mention. Fair enough. Why worship the moon and not go one step further? The Evernight Goddess. The diary took up 2 pages and was clearly copied from both sides of the original. That's a lot of information. That's also the first time I learned of a Sequence 1 potion. Snake of Mercury and Snake of Fate really make me feel a pining for. Similarly, it's also my first time learning of a Sequence 2. I now know the corresponding Sequence 2 of Seer. The name Miracle Invoker does sound pretty good. It contains deep meaning. It doesn't sound lowly. Of course, compared to Soothsayer, it does seem a little inferior. What? Really? According to a Soothsayer? That's just someone who can see the future, but I can make miracles? Besides, if you think about it, Klein is the Miracle Invoker. He's come back to life twice. That is some miracle invoker level bullshit. Last time we had a guy come back to life, it was 2,000 years ago, and we still worship him to this day. So, I don't know. Kind of feels like a miracle to me. Fate is the only part of the seer pathway and it's not even the main focus. I have to remember this. I should constantly reflect on myself and not end up steering towards fate. It might result in a failure in my acting. Zaratul's words don't seem contradictory. The monster is the real pathway of fate, so Soothsayer is a sequence 2. If that's the case, I already know the sequence 2 in the past. I already knew of a sequence 2 in the past. Oh, I see. Oh, hold on. So I had Soothsayer, but I can't... Where was that? Okay, so I added it there. That's good. Oh, but I previously thought it was it was a start of a new sequence. Never mind. Okay. Deleted. Okay, over the weekend, I'm going to have time, and I'm going to have to clean up my notes. And then I can share them with you guys, and then we can make adjustments as needed. But I can't even show it to anyone right now, because you all would laugh at me, as you should. They look horrible. Didn't Klein also come back like a day later, 2 more days, and we'd have a myth? True. No, it's got to be more than a day, don't you figure? Because he died, Benson and Melissa came, they bought up plots of land, they got the funeral preparations, they bought the coffin, I feel like it was closer to 2 or 3 days. He might have already done it, who even knows? Although he didn't take his eyes off the paper, he was seriously considering his own sequence. Due to his experience in digesting the 2 potions, Seer and Clown, and because he could spy and revere fate, he was able to be a little hold on. Well, Kenley's funeral was a day later? Oh, I guess. Fair. Sorry, what is this word? Showing or having knowledge of events before they take place. Prescient. Regarding fate. However, he would still be hopeless towards the development of fate. He had slowly been equating the essence of the Beyonder pathway to fate. If it wasn't for this diary, it was very likely that he would have used this premise to comprehend and act for subsequent sequences. As for whether or not Zaratul was lying, and what Klein was certain of, was that the monster pathway was definitely the sequence of fate, which consists of what he heard from previous information from the Nighthawks with the potion name of Soothsayer. Beyonders die often? Yeah, I guess they're just prepared for it. That's fair. Now there was a fate sequence. This seer pathway was unlikely to be a repeat. This would result in some degree of overlap, and it would be inconsistent with how each of the current sequences had different characteristics. Therefore, Klein was inclined to believe what Zaratul had said. He was inclined to believe that the fate was only a part of the seer pathway, not even its main focus. The value of the 2 pages is invaluable to the present me. The alchemist and the arcane scholar should be hired sequences of the savant pathway. From Roselle's tone, they definitely don't belong to 2 and 1. That is to say, they're 4 and 3. For the time being, it's impossible to determine which is 4 and which is 3. Klein gathered his thoughts and flipped through the diary. Hold on. Alchemist and arcane scholar. Gotta write that down. Okay, man, you guys, remember, you were right. There's so much lore here. What the fuck? Alright, well, we're slogging our way through it. It's gonna take more time than anticipated, but we'll get through. We might cut it I might cut it short a little bit from what I expected, because again, I expected it'd be like 2 hours and I'd get 7 chapters done. We're at like 4, and I got like half an hour. So, As for why the life school of thought only worshipped the moon and didn't believe in the Evernight goddess, he was unable to ponder too deeply about it due to the lack of information. The lore dumping is more bearable. The third page was a recount of inventing the steam machine. At times, he was afraid of suffering crackdowns, and at other times, he was afraid the fruits of his labor would be seized by powerful figures. To think that even Roselle, who thought of himself as the protagonist of an era, would have a perturbed and worried side. April 18th, Matilda is pregnant. This motherfucker's wife's name is Matilda? It's to be expected, and I can even tell you which lovemaking session she conceived in, because I felt a decrease in my Beyonder characteristic. Once the conception was successful, my own Beyonder characteristic will follow a mysterious connection, and part of it will be transferred to my child. After that, I asked the Archbishop worriedly. He told me that this is a normal phenomenon. For sequence 7 and below, the characteristics won't be passed to the next generation, but it isn't absolute. 6 and 5 would naturally pass down a portion, but it will not affect the parent's strength. As for the child, they would be born with a certain characteristic, closer to that of a 9, but as a result, their pathway is basically fixed. Oh, is that how someone is born with is that how someone like Demisol is born? Someone with like half a sequence, basically? Is that what happens? Like his mom or dad was a sequence 6 or 5 of the okay. Never mind. All right, same thing, Romero. All right, look at that. Great minds think alike, Romero. All right. This is going in the lore dump section. I don't have any sections at the moment. It's all going in one fucking place. I'm gonna make sections on the weekend. Okay, I promise. Portion. Demisol. At high sequence pathways, the inheritance of the characteristic is something one can control. One can choose to pass down or not. One can even choose to pass down even a little, a third, a half, or all. In other words, the children of high sequence Beyonders may be born as Beyonders. As for the sequence number, it's up to either one of the parents to decide. I wonder if the descendants of the deities are like that as well. I see. High sequence Beyonders can choose how much to i.e. what all good, Romero. I appreciate you dumping that in there, but it's good to have it for my notes. Anyway, but I appreciate that. Okay. I don't even have the lore channel listed on my fucking thing, so I'm gonna have to add it later. Imagine being born a lawyer. This makes me wonder, do demigods load characteristics into their balls before sex? It's a great question. Do you think it's like a loading a shotgun, throwing a shell into the chamber and then cocking it back, and you're like, cocking it, yes, that was on purpose. And like having a round in the chamber, so to speak. What about Beyonder women? That's a good question, actually, because like for Beyonder women, does it only happen when the baby's born? Like, do they decide it as it's coming out of the birth canal? How does that work? Interesting. After reading the diary, there were only two phrases in Klein's mind: law of Beyonder characteristics, indestructibility, and conservation. Is the law governing the survival of Beyonder creatures? It's no wonder that the magical animals will only reproduce before they die. It's no wonder there would be a phenomenon of increased killing and bloodlust after childbirth. The target would be of their own race and even their own partner. This is to supplement Beyonder characteristics. According to this logic, Ramiro, but I would think that would be different for women, no? At least conceptually, it would make more sense to me. Again, you guys would know. So if you say it's at conception even for women, I'll take your word for it. But conceptually, it feels to me like for women, it would be at birth. And those Beyonder characteristics seem oddly shaped. Can't imagine those be pleasant on ejection. According to this logic, if we trace it all the way back, when did the earliest Beyonder characteristic come from? Produced out of thin air? From the creator who created everything? Since Miss Justice had already advanced a telepath, Klein controlled the urge to nod and continue to leaf through the pages. The fifth page was Roselle's criticism about how no one would enjoy his pop music and thought he was just making noise, while at the same time he mused about refreshing stories was a common pursuit of different people from different worlds, and the popularity of the novel he plagiarized from the Count of Monte Cristo allowed the newspaper to be that he funded to be flourish. I was thinking the most weird sequence to be born in as criminal. I would think arbiter would also be a fucking nightmare for a kid to have, because like mommy and daddy had argue, and you're like, let us have a calm, rational discussion, shall we? Please, Father, walk me through your train of logic. What was it that Mother did that upset you so? And you're like, holy shit, child, I'm about to put you out the fucking room. A mic problem? DSV? Interesting. Can everyone else hear me okay? Just make sure everything on my end seems okay, I think. Thank you. Imagine a sleepless child. Holy shit. Yes, you're right. That might be worse. What about a spectator child? They come out of the womb talking. Emperor, is there anything you haven't done? Klein said with a smile. November 10th, I received the great pirate Savogany Solomon in secret. I hope that he will plunder my opponents on the new sea and strike at the ships of Faceak, Lone, and Fainapotter, and I promise him to advance to a high sequence Beyonder. The Beyonder pathway of the Dark Emperor has different names that are as strange as the Demoness pathway. Hold on. So is this 9876 that I should write down? No. Interesting. Okay. In order, unknown. Oh, they're just names. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Beyonder pathway of Dark Emperor. Unknown sequence numbers. Corruption, confusion, the fallen, disorder. Dr. Z, how's it going? Thanks for popping by. How you doing? In order for Savogny to live up to his name, I decided to confer him the title of the Count and Secret. Savogny has a child named Nast Solomon, and my intuition tells me that he will dominate the 5 Seas in the future. Nast Solomon, the king of the 5 Seas, Nast, who claims to be a descendant of the Solomon Empire? To think he was born during the Roselle period. Klein was stunned. Since Roselle mentioned the term new sea route, Klein easily determined the corresponding year. He was assassinated in 1194, and the new sea route was discovered. It was in 1194 that the new sea route was discovered and the southern continent was found, and Roselle was assassinated in 1198. The diary could only have been written between those years. Yes, the names originally didn't have stuff like Baron, so they were added on to make the names more suitable. I see. Yeah, I'd have completed 15 pages. Good shit, Devil. All right, that's awesome. That also meant it was about 151 to 155 years ago. If Nast was the king of the 5 Seas, was Nast Solomon, Roselle spoke of, almost 160 years old? And that's Black Emperor and Prince of Abolition? Prince of Abolition. Interesting. Black Emperor, I knew. Prince of Abolition, that's new. He gathered his thoughts and let the diary disappear. He looked at Justice and said, "You're free to trade or commune now." The fool has no general knowledge to tell us today. Audio was slightly disappointed. She turned her gaze to the sun and said, "Can I exchange information to you? Exchange information related to the dragon from you?" She clearly remembered that the sun called the spectator pathway the dragon pathway and said that it originated from the dragon race. "Sure, but I want the sequence 8 potion formula for Bard," answered the sun without hesitation. He wanted to use this exchange for information on the world where Justice and the Hanged Man were living, so he wouldn't be so confounded by what he heard. However, seeing that the process of digesting the potion was nearing completion, he made his advancement top priority. I sent the correct translation on Discord. Thank you, Ramiro. Alright, we'll see. I might just do this one more chapter and leave it there. I don't know. It should be about 2 hours by that point. There's a combo I'd have never thought of. I know, right? Okay, gotta go. Alright, good night, Unhinged. Yeah, I'm gonna just finish this last chapter and then I'm gonna go to bed too, I think. Unless something really crazy happens, we'll see. Audrey wasn't surprised by the sun's request. Since the acting method proliferated in the City of Silver, then the amount of time that had passed suggesting that it was likely that he was close to the end of the digestion period. Seeking the subsequent formula was definitely one of the highest priorities. I wonder how he acts. Does he sing poetry every day? When encountering combat, dodge to the side and use the singing words to bring courage and strength to his companions. You know, stuff like that reminds me a lot of like a D&D campaign. I want to be clear, I've never played D&D and know very little about it. My only introduction was Baldur's Gate 3, which I've played and I love so much. Or perhaps he would bless himself first before charging forward with a hammer and sword. I wonder if it will bring back an improvement in his singing ability. If it's possible, then he would definitely be an outstanding singer or opera singer, Audrey thought with great interest. She purposely didn't expose her stance in a hurry so as to not let the sun raise the price again. This wasn't something she learned from her tutor or beyond her gatherings. It was merely a technique she developed herself after she advanced to telepathist. I will try my best to find sequence 8, but it won't be today. Are you satisfied with this condition? We can seek Mr. Fool's help to bear witness in this agreement. At that moment, Klein laughed and replied, "Miss Justice, perhaps I can provide the light supplement supplement formula for you." Audrey's eyes lit up and said, "No problem. Then what should I exchange for you? Exchange with you? I haven't thought of it." Klein chuckled. "Don't worry. Perhaps my adorers will need help in certain situations in the future." Should I give you a whole PDF of the whole? It has the proper translation. Sure, Mary. You can. Just send that through, and then I can read it there instead. That works. Give him the EPUB file so you can zoom in. Oh, that'd be handy. Yes. His thoughts were very simple. If he allowed the Justice to obtain the formula from in her Beyonder circles, then wouldn't the knowledge he had stolen from the EBS at the cost of near immolation be for naught? At the very least, it would be wasted at the Tarot Club. "All right, I'll do my best to help them," Audrey promised. Klein pressed his hands together and a yellowish-brown goatskin appeared before him. On it was the formula for the light supplement, including substitute ingredients and their ancient names. Furthermore, they were all translated to Jotun. I'm not reading the fucking ingredients. With a subtle push, the goatskin appeared in front of the sun. Although he could pray to the fool to recall the formula even if he forgot, he diligently memorized it. It took him quite a while before he said, "Now, we can talk about dragons." "Mr. Fool, I seek your permission to speak with Mr. Sun alone." Audrey raised her hand. She originally believed that the Sun would put an appropriate content on paper for her to write, but it'd be inconvenient for her to ask questions. She would have to pen her questions, push it back. How cumbersome. Speak with him alone? In such a conversation, he probably wouldn't understand what he's saying. All right. In Beyonder circles, Hermes was a language one had to master. Ancient Hermes was something one could learn and was relatively popular. Jotun, Dragonese, Elvish were relatively less popular, so few people knew them. The moment that was said, Klein isolated the hanged man, preventing him from seeing or hearing. He had a certain interest in the knowledge of dragons, but not enough to pay, so he kept silent and waited. Seeing that Mr. Fool made a gesture for them to start talking, the Sun remained silent for a few seconds, then he said, "The dragons are mortal enemies of the Giant King." Holy fuck, more lower drops. Hold the fucking phone. Dragons are mortal enemies of the Giant King. They look like magnified lizards, and their whole bodies are covered in scales of different colors. Their four limbs are thick and powerful, and their wings wide enough to drive their giant bodies to flight. They are the rulers of the sky. They have a myriad of abilities. Some have the ability to breathe fire, while others command lightning, bringing corrosion or even frost. But these are not mainstream among dragons. The dragon of the mind occupies the greatest number of dragons, with the Dragon King, Ankh-Vault, as their representative. The Beyonder pathway that stems from the Dragon of the Mind is the Spectator. In the City of Silver, we call it the Dragon Pathway. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. With regards to similar trades, Derek had initially prepared to regurgitate the historical text, but upon discovering that Miss Justice and the Hanged Man didn't seem to share the same world, he realized the value of widely known history of the widely known history of the City of Silver. Thus, he only talked about dragons for the time being, and nothing of elves, giants, mutants, phoenix, vampires, etc. The King of Dragon, Ankh-Vault. This aligns with the records of the church, Audrey nodded. Derek recalled the contents of the book and said, back then the most powerful and terrifying dragon was the Dragon King Ankh-Vault, also known as the Dragon of Imagination. Known as the dragon of imagination. Interesting. Apart from it, his son Azelhod blanketed the sky as well, overlooking the famous and powerful figures along the land. It was the Dragon of Nightmare. His son Azelhod was the Dragon of Nightmare. So what this probably tells me is that at a high level, there's going to be stuff in the spectator pathway that has to do with imagination. I don't know nightmare, because nightmare is already the name of a sleepless pathway that we know of. So maybe, maybe named slightly different, but something. Regarding the Dragon of Imagination Ankovault, there was a legend that whatever he imagined would manifest. Some Harry Potter-esque names here. Oh, for sure. And the kingdom he imagined would definitely descend upon the material world. The future, it declares, would definitely play out and become reality. Like, I'm just trying to think, what would if someone had the ability to, like, I don't want to say like make their imagination come to reality, because that's a fucking busted power if that exists. There's a, I can't remember who, but there's like a Quincy in Thousand Year Blood Work and Bleach that has that ability. Quincy R or some shit. Remy? I think it's Remy. I might have that wrong. Like like he can just make whatever he wants come to mind. So is it Remy? Hold on. It is Remy? Thank you. Remy, so like Remy's name is Remy was V for visionary. So like maybe the Beyonder pathway is visionary, or maybe not that one. Or maybe it's like, hold on. If not visionary, inspired? Innovative, all that seems like garbage. Inspired, maybe. Or visionary. Imaginative seems like, it seems like such a boring leap. I don't think the author would do that. Original, clever, ingenious, inventive, maybe. No, but I guess inventive sounds like someone who's making up. Maybe inventive. Maybe inventive also works. Inventive, inspired, visionary are the three I'm going with. That might be a thing. Someone, and then something about nightmare, because his son is called a nightmare, and then we learned that a high-ranking Beyonder can pass on a portion of their strength to their kid. So that probably means like the son is not quite as strong, but like lower. So let's say if the cook is imagining a kitchen. Really good. So like if we're saying, let's say visionary, I'm just going to stick with that one for the moment, is like sequence 2. Maybe his son is like a sequence 4, maybe a 3. I don't know. A little bit weaker than him. Nightmare. What's the type of shit you'd say about a kid who's having a nightmare? What would you say? Hold on. Sorry. Okay, give me 2 minutes, and then and then we'll get back to reading. Okay, I promise. Oh, that's real. Oh my God, that's really good. Oh, fantasy. Oh, and we also learned that at high levels there'll be sorry, they'll be they'll have like several words, like the two we were given wasn't just one word, it was several. The What was it? It was like miracle invoker and what the fuck was the other one we were given? I don't know. The sequence one. Snake of Mercury, right? We're so they're long words. So like maybe it's like maybe I don't know. Hallucination, that kind of seems. Phantasm. Whoa, that seems really cool. Like that would be a really good word association for a high level thing. Phantasm. That's really good. Oh, that'd be a good word. Am I basing it only off of the aura that the word gives off? Absolutely. I don't give a fuck about nothing else, bro. I'm vain as fuck. Sorry. Okay, it's time to get started again. All right. Regarding the yes, regarding the Dragon of Imagination, Vault, there was a legend that whatever he imagined would manifest. Yeah, so he's literally like Remy. What the fuck? Man says he's not good at imagining. Your cooking is yes. The kingdom he imagined would definitely descend upon the material world. The future it declares would definitely play out and become reality. That's gotta be like a sequence one then. If I have the ability to make my imagination come true, there was a reason Remy was like feared by everybody. Everyone thought like stay the fuck out of Remy's way. That guy's a fucking lunatic. I'm talking Bleach terms because I don't know much about this world yet. But like everyone was like stay the fuck out of Remy's way. The guy's a lunatic. He's way too strong. The only reason Remy was able to be beat was because he imagined that Kenny was a god, basically. Kenny was basically the fool in that scenario. He just scammed him into thinking he was way stronger. A client suddenly frowned. If it wasn't for the fact that Audrey and Justice were focused on listening to the sun, she definitely would have noticed his abnormality, even if it was covered by the gray fog. The description made him think of 08. I know, that's what I was thinking. Thank you. A declared future would definitely play out. They share similar characteristics. Klein leaned back into his chair and relaxed, but in fact he was even more focused. Dragon of Imagination, how cool. That's the mark of a deity. Audrey's eyes lit up when she heard him, filled with excitement and anticipation. Did someone say dragons? Yes. Derek paused for a few seconds before continuing. Its son, Dragon of Nightmare, Azalhood, is similarly terrifying. It controls the hearts of every living being and makes them act according to his will. That seems as much like 08 as anything else. Remy didn't know how to use his powers properly. I think an experienced dragon would obliterate Kenichi. Again, probably, but like Remy's problem was he kept trying to beat Kenny, and Kenny's fucking Kenny. He's broken, and then he eventually I don't want to pull up the video, but basically what happens in their fight is Remy decides like, okay, fuck this, I'm just gonna nuke this entire place. So he summons in a meteor, like a giant meteor. And Kenny, because he's a lunatic who's just hellbent on fighting and having the thrill of the fight, he leaps towards the meteor to slice it. And in that moment, Kenny Remy thinks like, oh my god, he's so strong that he's actually gonna cut it. And him thinking that made Kenny that strong, and so he just cut it and he defeated him. And Kenny told him, like, before he killed him, he was like, you idiot. You made me this strong because you imagined that I was a monster who could never be defeated. So yeah, like I experienced dragon probably wouldn't make that mistake. But again, if you're terrified of the person you're fighting, you imagine them to be strong, they get that strong. your worst nightmare. Holy shit, what do you do? And these living creatures will find it hard to sense, believing that their actions are of their own will. This seems closer to me than to 008 than the imagination, because 008 obviously had limitations. Because if it was imagination, it would do what Klein said, like, oh, if you could just make it do whatever it wanted, it would just say, he would just say like, oh, Saint Selena's ashes grew wings and then it flew over to me. But it couldn't do that. It had some physical limitations of some sense. I don't know what, but something, right? But this, living creatures will find it hard to sense, believing their actions are of their own free will, meaning whatever they're doing, they have to be capable of doing. You can't just make someone fly if they can't fly, because they can't do that of their free will. It will also fabricate real nightmares into reality, causing many living creatures to unknowingly participate in them. It would give them the cruelest and shocking ends. Legend has it that it especially loves mischief, that it would let a prince kiss a princess to wake her up, but the princess is already mostly rotten away. Logical imagining is crazy. I don't have any imagination, man. I just have logical deduction. I am, like, you wouldn't say Sherlock Holmes is, like, imaginative. You know, you just say, like, he's really good at detective. Or, like, deduction, rather. Detective. What the fuck? It would make ordinary girls wear dancing shoes and dance in front of a prince, but find themselves unable to do so until their deaths. It would make all kinds of coincidences and push the fates of many towards the tragedy. That sounds even more like, oh wait. Of course, I don't know much about the artifact. Klein resisted the urge to stroke his chin. What a vile dragon. However, it's interesting. However, its abilities are interesting. Dude. Okay, never mind. I was kind of shitting on Audrey's pathway at the start, but dude, if she can get the power of nightmare and imagination, holy shit, though. This is wild. This is the future of the spectator pathway? No, the dragon pathway. I don't want to switch to another sequence. Audrey wanted to immediately become a sequence 7 psychiatrist and rapidly advance. The son answered sincerely, it has been 2,000 or 3,000 years since the history of the dragons and the giant king. Everything I know comes from textbooks and legends. There is no guarantee of the authenticity. At least your history remains intact. And then the creator awoke, and the dragon of imagination and nightmare and famous other dragons fell from the sky, losing everything. This resulted in a lack of sunlight for 49 days, causing violent volcanoes to erupt as well as tides that drowned everything. And after the dragons declined, they could only hide away in various dangerous areas. Later on, the Dragon King was destroyed by the creator as well. Alright, more fucking lore I gotta write down. God damn it. Piece of shit. Hold on. I don't even know what the point of me streaming this is. I'm typing more bullshit than I'm reading at this point. What the fuck? The creator woke up and smited the dragons. The ones that were left could only hide away in dangerous areas. Later on, the Giant King was also destroyed by the creator. Holy fuck, why does this original creator destroy everything? This is different from the history I know. Wasn't it the Lord of Storm, EBS, and the God of Sun who led humanity to defeat the dragons, giants, and their kings? Audrey felt confused, as though time and history were somehow out of place. Okay. History by the Sun from the City of Silver. According to the Lone Kingdom, Lord of Storms, EBS, and God of Knowledge led humanity to defeat dragons, giants and kill their kings. Okay. Sorry, Dr. Z. Let me read your message. Now, I know you were sort of in a back and forth with Romero. I don't want to read anything until we get that figured out. Oh, fuck me, Jesus. According to the Orthodox myth of the seven churches, EBS, Lord of Storm and the God of Knowledge, led humanity to a revolt against their oppressors. Humanity succeeded and managed to defeat and drive the Beyonder race to near extinction. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I feel like I've read that before. That makes sense. Klein was also puzzled by this and felt the true history was riddled with mysteries, especially as it was from the second epoch, a time more ancient than history. Most of the legends recorded in the church's ancient textbooks should be fake, but the history of City of Silver can't be completely believed. What would the real history be? Is the exchange over? He smiled and asked. That's all I know, Derek replied in shame. He felt the information he provided didn't match the value of the light supplement formula. Audrey drew a quiet breath and said, I'm satisfied. I know my future direction, she added happily in mind. We're on 2:38, Justin. But I think we might leave it here because it's 1 o'clock now. This stream took a lot longer than I expected it to. There was a lot of lore dumps, so a lot of writing and stuff. So we might end it at this chapter instead of 2:40. But tomorrow we can do some longer streams because after a little bit in the afternoon I'll be all alone. So depending on if Easy's streaming and what time he streams and stuff, we can do like a longer stream tomorrow. After a few more exchanges, Klein announced the end of the Tarot Club meeting. After sending off Justice and the others, he didn't linger any longer and returned to his bedroom to reduce the risk of being seen. In the Empress Borough, the opulent villa of the Count Hall, Audrey paced back and forth happily, planning to reward Susie with a few treats. Just then she heard a knock on the door. From the sound of the footsteps on the gate, she could tell it was Annie, her personal maid. Come in. Audrey looked at the mirror, smoothed her hair, and straightened her back. Miss, a telegram has come from you from the southern continent. Alfred? She suddenly thought of her older brother. Took the paper in delight and examined it. It was indeed from her second older brother, Alfred Hall. He sent a telegram from the east coast of Balam and read it. I found the rainbow salamander you wanted. 2 in total. Please, await its delivery. But I don't need it anymore. Audrey froze, blinked, then turned her head sharply to Susie. Oh my god, we're progressing Susie! Susie's gonna become a Sequence 8. This is amazing. I love it. This is gonna be awesome. Oh, this is a shorter chapter, in fairness. Never mind. Nah, you know what? Fuck it. We will... Nah, I think we'll leave it there today. I think. Yeah. 2:15. Susie the Go. Oh my god, Susie's gonna become a Sequence 8 Beyonder. I don't need it for me. I can give it to Susie. Let's go. Oh my god. Susie's the same sequence as Klein? Holy shit. Susie, what happens if a dog becomes a god? What is that? What's that? Or a demigod even? Are they then part dog, part human, part god? How does that work? Oh, that's fun. All right, that was a really fun stream. I got to learn so much. I'm gonna focus, probably not tomorrow, but on Saturday on getting my notes all figured out and stuff, and then getting those formatted, and then sort of sharing them with you guys so that we can make demigod, demidog. Very good. Yes, very good. Yeah, lots of lore today. Yeah, a lot. It was good. Plus, I got to learn a lot of new potion sequences and stuff, which is good. Yeah. So once again, I think we'll leave it there, folks. Thank you everyone for a phenomenal stream. As always, I will send you a better translation. Thank you so much, Romero. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or nights. I will see you in approximately 10 hours. As always, if you're in the Discord, I will give you a heads up. If you're, for whatever reason, not in the Discord, consider joining. The link should be in the description. And I'll catch y'all later, hopefully. That's it. We'll end it there. Thank you so much, everyone.